नमस्कार बच्चों, welcome to the virtual class. Students, today we will learn about the foreign exchange rates, जिसे हम विदेशी विनिमय प्रणाली कहते हैं या विदेशी विनिमय दर कहते हैं. So here we have to learn how a domestic currency can be exchanged with a foreign currency. So here the rate which we are going to study will tell us that how a domestic currency can be exchanged with another country's currency. So at what rate it can be exchanged? Here we will learn about the meaning of foreign exchange rate, and we will learn about the systems, the types of exchange rates which are being followed in the world across all the countries. But what rate they are exchanging their currencies with another country's currency. As we used to exchange our currency, take an example of American dollar. So when we want to exchange American dollar with our currency, that is rupees, so nearly we have to pay 73 rupees. So that is the current value of our currency with the $1. So we can say that the exchange rate is the rate at which a domestic currency can be exchanged with a foreign currency. So it can also be called as the external value of the domestic currencies. So by this way, we can very easily exchange or convert our currency or the domestic currency into the foreign currencies. So students, so we can say that it is the ratio between the domestic currency and the foreign currency. So now we will learn about the method where the domestic currencies can be converted into the foreign currencies. It is being broadly classified into two types or two methods where the foreign currencies can be converted. The first one, that is the fixed exchange rate, and the second one is what? The flexible exchange rate. So the first one is what? The fixed exchange rate. In the fixed exchange rate system, here the rate of exchange is being fixed by the government. So when it is being fixed by the government, it cannot be changed again and again. So it cannot be changed frequently. So this exchange rate of foreign currencies are being fixed by the government. As I told you, it is being fixed by the government. And further, the system is being classified into two types, where first one is said to be the first one is called gold standard system of exchange rate, and the second one is Bretton Woods system of exchange rate, or otherwise it can also be said to be the adjustable peg system of exchange rate. These are the two systems followed by the world economies from 1920 onwards. So now we will study about this fixed exchange rate system one by one. In this system, gold is being taken as the standard unit, the unit of parity between two countries. So here we will take the gold value as the standard unit to exchange the currencies between two countries. So here every country need to define their currency's value in terms of gold, in terms of the gold value. So here the value of one country's currency is being fixed according to the value of the gold value of their country on their currency. So here, based on the value of the gold, that country's currency's value is being fixed. So this system is being followed by the world economies since 1920. So take an example. Here we can see that if 1 pound is equal to 4 gram of gold and $1 is equal to 2 gram of gold, and you can see how the pound and the dollar can be exchanged with each other. So if you want to buy a 1 pound, if you want to exchange a 1 pound with the dollar, so that we need to pay $2 because $1 is equal to 2 grams, and we know that the pound is equal to 4 grams of gold. So gold has been utilized as the standard unit to measure the currency's value between two countries. So this is the gold standard system of exchange rate, where gold is being utilized as the common system or common standard of unit between two countries. So now we will see about the next system, that is the adjustable peg system of exchange rate, or we can say the Bretton Woods system of exchange rate. So students, the Bretton Woods system, that is the adjustable peg system of exchange rate, it is also a fixed system. That means the system which we have learned earlier, but thing is what, here some sort of adjustment is allowed. So what kind of adjustment is allowed? Here what we can see that the system, that is the exchange rate system, where the values are being already fixed with the value of the gold. But here sometime with the permission of the government or with the IMF, they allow some rate of adjustment between the values of currencies between two countries. So the exchange rates are not fixed according to the gold rate, though it is being followed by the gold rate, but with the permission of the IMF and the government, some sort of the exchange rates are being adjusted according to their need. So that is why it is being said to be the adjustable Beck system of exchange rate, or it is being said as the Bretton Woods system of exchange rate. So here when this system is adopted, so here we can see some adjustments which have been taken into this system of exchange rate. Let us see one by one. So here different currencies were pegged to one currency, that is US dollar. So in place of gold they have utilized the US dollar as the unit. The US dollar was assigned gold value at a fixed price. Then the value of currency in terms of US dollars ultimately implied the value of that currency in terms of gold. The gold continued to be ultimate unit of parity between any two currencies. And at last when, as I told you, that adjustment in the parity value of currency was possible only if allowed by the IMF, that is the International Monetary Fund. Okay, students, now we'll see about the flexible exchange rate system. Here what we have seen that the currency which are being exchanged between two countries, so rate which is being already been fixed by the IMF or government, they cannot be changed, and these exchanges are being done based on the gold values of their country. But as we have found the scarcity of gold due to the accumulation of gold for the liquidity reserve. So when these gold reserves are being accumulated with the country face the scarcity of gold. To decay this system and to adopt a new system that has been called the flexible exchange rate system, they have used the demand and supply of the foreign currencies in the foreign exchange market. So based on the demand and supply of the foreign currencies, the exchange rates are being fixed. Now we will learn how the country's currency's value is being fixed according to the demand and supply of the foreign currencies in the foreign exchange markets. It is also being called as par rate of exchange system or the equilibrium rate of exchange system. Now we will study very detailedly how the equilibrium rate of exchange system can be determined by the demand and supply of foreign currencies in the foreign exchange rates. Okay students, now we will look at the difference between fixed and the flexible exchange rate of foreign currencies. So look at this table here. In this table we have given the difference between two exchange rates, that is fixed rate and the flexible rate. So far we have studied about the fixed rate and the flexible rate. So what we can see here, the fixed rates, the fixed exchange rates are being fixed by the government, and while the flexible rate of exchange is being determined by the demand and supply forces in the international money market. So here the difference is what, it is being fixed by the government, but here in the flexible rate it is being determined by the demand and supply of the foreign currency. The second difference is what, here gold is taken as a common unit of parity between currencies of two different countries, but here in the flexible rate of system only the supply and demand for each currency determines the parity between two currencies of the country. And at last what we can see that here the parity value of different currencies can be adjustable only when it is being allowed by the IMF, that is International Monetary Fund. But here the adjustment in the parity value of two different currencies is being automatically done through the supply and demand force of foreign currencies in an economy. So these are the basic difference between the fixed exchange rate and the flexible exchange rate of foreign currencies in. Okay students, now look at carefully. Now we will learn about the determination of equilibrium rate of the exchange rate, how the exchange rate is being determined by the demand and supply of foreign currencies in the foreign exchange market. So based on the equilibrium level of demand and supply of foreign currencies only, the exchange rate is being determined since 1977. So still we are following the same system of exchange rate. Even you can check through internet and the daily newses, where we can see that the foreign exchange rates are fluctuating daily. You must know why these rates are being fluctuating every day. So they are fluctuating only because of the increase and decrease in the demand and supply of the foreign currencies in the foreign exchange markets. So based on that only, the country's foreign exchange rates are being fixed. So look at the diagram carefully, how the equilibrium level of exchange rate is being determined.
Okay students, now here we will study about the determination of flexible exchange rate through the graph. So look at the diagram carefully. So in this diagram we have x-axis and the y-axis. So here in the x-axis we have the value of demand and supply of foreign currency, and in the y-axis we have the rate of exchange of foreign currencies. So look at the diagram carefully. We have two curves here. So the curve S denotes the supply of foreign currencies, and you can see here it is positively related to the rate of exchange. So it's moved from, so it moves to upward to the right in a positive way. So it is positively related to the rate of exchange. At the same time you can see one more curve, that is curve D. The curve D denotes the value of demand for foreign currencies. So here you can see again that the curve, the D curve. So this D curve is moving from upward to downward, from left to right. So while moving downward, we can see that these two curves intersect at a point E. So that point E is being called as point of equilibrium. So equilibrium is that point where we can see that the equilibrium rate of exchange can be determined by the demand and supply curve of the foreign currencies intersect with each other. So here we have the exchange rate, that is R1 at the initial, and as these two curves intersect with each other, the point which is the equilibrium point, that the equilibrium rate of exchange rate is been said to be the point R, and at the same time we can see the equilibrium quantity of the exchange rates, where the point Q denotes the equilibrium quantity where the supply and demand for foreign currencies are equal. So students, by this way the flexible rate of exchange rate is being determined by all the economies in the world, where we can see that due to the demand and supply of foreign currencies, these exchange rates used to fluctuate and they used to change time to time. Okay students, after seeing the determination of the equilibrium level of exchange rate by the demand and supply curve of foreign currencies, now we will see the impact of changes. That means what? Due to the change, that is increase and decrease in the demand for foreign currencies, how the equilibrium exchange rate gets changes, we will see one by one with the help of a diagram. So students, look at the situation. First situation, here we have the situation where increase in demand of a foreign currency. So again we have the same in x-axis. Look at the curve first. In the x-axis we have the demand for the foreign exchange, the foreign currency. Here we have taken US dollar as the foreign currency, and in the y-axis we have the rate of exchange. So initially the rate of exchange, where the point where we have the curve D and curve S intersect at a point. So here look at this point. So at this point, that is the OR. OR. So OR is the equilibrium rate of exchange, where the demand curve and the supply curve of foreign currencies intersect with each other. So now in this situation, what we have seen that there is an increase in demand of foreign currency. So the demand have been increased. So when the demand increased, we know that the demand curves moves upward. So it shifts to the rightward. So when it shifted to D2, D1, so this is the new curve. So when this curve moved upward, so by this a new rate of exchange, that is R1. So OR1. So that OR1 is the new equilibrium point of exchange rate. So due to the increase in the demand for foreign currencies, the impact, what we can see here, that the exchange rate gets increased from R to R1. So when it got increased from R to R1, even the equilibrium quantity of foreign currencies have also increased from Q to Q1. So by this way, what we have seen here, that previously when the $1 is paid with 60 rupees of Indian currency, so due to the increase in the demand of the foreign currency, we need to pay rupees 70 in place of 60. So this increase in the domestic currency as compared to the foreign currency, the US dollar, that is being called as what? The currency depreciation. We call currency depreciation. So this currency depreciation occurs due to the increase in the demand for foreign currencies. Look here, currency depreciation refers to a situation when domestic currency depreciates or loses its value in relation to a foreign currency. So here we have taken example of Indian rupee and the US dollar. So instead of paying 60 rupees, we are paying 70 rupees to $1 of US dollar. So that is the currency depreciation. Now look at the second situation. Here we have the situation where the demand for foreign currency decreases. So what happens here again? We have the same x-axis and the y-axis. Here again we have two curves, that is supply curve and the demand curve. The point of R, that is the OR point here, because it's the equilibrium point. And due to the decrease in the demand curve, so that is the curve decrease of D2, D1. So because of that, the equilibrium point shifted to point R1. So when it shifted to R1, the new equilibrium exchange rate will be OR1, and the new equilibrium quantity will be OQ1. So this is the new equilibrium quantity. So what we can see here, because of this, look at the assumed exchange rate. Here previously we used to pay rupees 60 to $1, and due to the decrease in the demand of foreign currency, the Indian rupees is being paid at the rate of 50 rupees for $1. So here what we can see, that the currency rate of the domestic currency have increased. That means that is the situation is called as what? The currency appreciation. That is currency appreciation. So this is what the impact of decrease in demand brings in the exchange rate. So what is currency appreciation? So currency appreciation is a situation when domestic currency appreciate or gains its value in relation to a foreign currency, so that we have to pay less rupees to buy a dollar. So students, so that is the impact of increase and decrease in the demand for foreign currencies in a foreign exchange rate. Okay students, now we'll see the impact of change, that is increase and decrease in the supply of foreign currency. So look at the situation, the third situation. Here we will study about the increase in supply of foreign currency. So previously we have studied about the demand of foreign currency. Now we will study about the supply of foreign currency. So what happens when the supply of foreign currencies increases? Look at the diagram carefully. We have x-axis and y-axis in the diagram. So in the y-axis we have the rate of exchange. Again, here we will study about the supply of US dollar in the x-axis. So let's look at the diagram carefully. In this diagram we have S curve and the D curve. That is S curve, the supply curve of foreign currency, and the D curve denotes the demand for the foreign currency. So in this curve we can see that the curve intersect at the equilibrium point. Equilibrium point at OR, that is the point R, and due to the increase in the supply, we know that when the supply curve increases, it shifts downward. So when it shifts downward, the new curve, that is new supply curve S1, it intersects with the demand curve at R1. So R1. So R1 is the new equilibrium rate of exchange, where due to the increase in the supply of the foreign currencies, the equilibrium rate have decreased from R to R1. So when the exchange rate decreases, again we can see here that the US dollar, 1 US dollar is being equivalent to the rupees 60 previously. But due to the increase in the supply of foreign currency, the domestic currency, that is rupee, falls and its value gets increases. So again here we can see that for 1 US dollar we are paying only 50 rupees in place of 60. So what the situation we can call, again here we have the currency appreciation. That means our currency or the domestic currency's value got gained or increased. Now look at the one more situation where we can see that decrease in the supply of foreign currency. So what happens when there is a decrease in the supply of foreign currency? So look at the diagram again. We have in this diagram we can see that the D and S curve intersect at point E, that is the equilibrium point, and due to the decrease in the supply of foreign currencies, and one more thing again, when there is a decrease in the supply curve, that curve moves upward. So when it moves upward to the left, so at that time what we can see that the curve, that is S1 curve, the new curve formed due to the increase in the supply of foreign currency, it intersects at a point with the curve D, the demand curve, at point R1. So OR1 is the new equilibrium rate of exchange. So when it gets changes, that means when the supply curve decreases, so due to decrease in the supply, the exchange rate gets increases. So again, when the exchange rate gets increases, what will happen in the economy or the domestic currency? The domestic currency's value will be depreciated. So that can be said to be the currency depreciation. So look at the assumed exchange rate. So previously we used to pay 60 rupees for 1 US dollar, and due to the decrease in the supply of foreign currency, the exchange rate got increased. So whenever there is a decrease in the supply of foreign currency, the exchange rate will get fluctuated and it will get increased. So at this situation we need to pay rupees 70 instead of 60 to exchange 1 US dollar. So students, by this way we can calculate or we can assume how the currency rates get depreciated and appreciated due to the increase in the or decrease in the supply and demand of foreign currencies in an economy. Okay students, at last we will see the difference between the currency appreciation and the currency depreciation. Difference is given here. So in the appreciation of domestic currency, what we can see that it is a situation of fall in the exchange rate. So whenever there is a fall in the exchange rate, we can see the appreciation in the domestic currency. And the second side, what we can see that in the depreciation of domestic currency, in this situation, there is a rise in the exchange rate. So whenever we find a rise in the exchange rate, at that time the domestic currency gets depreciated. So the depreciation happens in the domestic currency. Next point, what we can see that here less rupees are needed to buy one US dollar. So we need very less amount of rupees. That means we need less rupees to buy the US currency, US dollar. At the same time, whenever there is a depreciation happens in the domestic currency, at that time we have to pay more. We pay more rupees to buy a US dollar. And you can see what are the causes. So what are the causes for the appreciation of domestic currency? So we here the two causes are given. One is what there is a due to the increase in supply of foreign exchanges, and the next one is what due to the decrease in demand for foreign exchanges. So whenever there is a increase in the supply and decrease in the demand, at that time we can see the appreciation of domestic currency, where the domestic currency's value get increases. And look at the causes for the depreciation of domestic currency. Here again we have two situations where due to the increase in the demand for foreign exchange and due to the decrease in the supply of foreign exchange, this situation creates the depreciation. You see, it depreciates the value of domestic currency. So you can see a example given in this table. So when we have the appreciation, at that time to purchase to exchange one US dollar, we need to pay rupees 60 to rupees 50. At the same time, in the next slide, you can see that whenever there is a depreciation in the domestic currency, at that time we have to pay more rupees to exchange or to get one US dollar.
So students, so that's all for today. So based on today's learning, I have given some homework. You can note down this homework, and I hope you can do this homework very easily at your home, and in case of any doubt you can contact us. So students, that's all for today. We will meet in the next episode with the concepts of demand and supply of foreign exchanges in a country. So until then, keep learning, take care, stay safe. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.